Petroleum is a natural fossil fuel found in geological formations beneath the Earth's surface. Petroleum is made up of a fluid mix of liquid and gaseous hydrocarbons of different molecular weights and other organic compounds, inorganic chemical compounds, and physical impurities. Anyway, the word petroleum includes both crude oil and petroleum products. Crude oil is a mixture of liquid hydrocarbons. They are mainly made up of hydrogens and carbons, but also contain nitrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. These hydrocarbons are found in underground geological formations and now remain as a liquid even when brought up to the surface. According to the Britannica Dictionary, crude oil is liquid petroleum that is found accumulated in various porous rock formations in Earth's crust and is extracted for burning as fuel or for processing into chemical products. Crude oils are characterized by the predomination of hydrogen components, such as paraffins, naphthalene, and aromatics, although paraffins are the most common hydrocarbons present in crude oil. Regarding its physical properties, in appearance it ranges from colorless to black, and it can be classified as sweet or sour on its sulfur level. Nevertheless, its more important physical property is the specific gravity, which is the ratio of the weight of equal volumes of a crude oil and pure water at standard conditions. Nevertheless, the main difference between crude oil and petroleum is that the mixture of crude oil and natural gases is known as petroleum. It is the natural gases dissolved in the crude oil what make up petroleum. On the other hand, petroleum products are the result of processing crude oil and other liquids at petroleum refineries, starting by extracting liquid hydrocarbons at natural gas processing plants to producing finished petroleum products at blending facilities. Many things that we use in our daily life are made up of or have components that come from petroleum. Some examples of those are the gasoline we use for our cars, plastics, and even some components of our technological devices such as computers, cell phones, and even cameras. All of these have components that come from petroleum. Nowadays, petroleum is very important and it is highly demanded by many countries as oil and gas are the engines of today's world's economy.
The process of refining petroleum is when the crude oil is transformed into other products that are used in daily life, and it has three main steps: separation, conversion, and treatment. Separation refers to distillation. Crude oil is heated in a furnace so that the hydrocarbons and also the different fractions of petroleum turn into gases and separate according to their weights and their boiling points. Those hot gases are passed to distillation columns, so that when they get higher on the column they get condensed and transformed into liquids. On these columns, heavy resides at the bottom, raw diesel fuels at the midpoint, and raw gasoline at the top. Then they're separated into different containers, now as liquids. Conversion refers to the process of turning the hydrocarbons to other ones. Normally, the hydrocarbons are transformed into lighter ones through cracking. Cracking is the process of breaking heavier elements into lighter ones, using heat and pressure. Other common process is alkylation, which is the opposite of cracking, where the hydrocarbons turn into heavier ones. Treatment is the last process of refining and the one that lasts the most. In this process, it is to combine processed products to create octane levels, vapor pressure properties, and special properties for products that are exposed to extreme environments. An example is the removal of sulfur from diesel fuel for it to meet clean air guidelines. The main use of petroleum is to produce energy. The different products that can be produced from it are liquefied petroleum gas used for domestic fuel, gasoline, kerosene used for domestic fuel and fuel in jet engines, diesel oil used for the automobile industry, heavy oil used for lubricating oils, fuel oil used for ships, central heatings and factories, and residue used for making roofs and roads.
Petroleum can be easily considered as organic, due to its origins. However, its past primary origins did not conduct to be completely based around carbon, the element. Since it is common to say that this type of energy would come from fossil fuels, which were living organisms on their own, mostly being underground creatures that have gone extinct before mankind could possibly appear inside nature. Since living things also include animae and plantae, possibilities of this kind of fuel are more existent due to distinct conditions from the underground, where plantae and other distinguished sources of carbon could appear. Natural changes could have interfered with by its own selection. Natural selection is a concept that concerns constantly on evolution, which may participate in daily survival of all our surroundings. That includes animals, plants, and every living organism. This by affecting natural habitats and drastically changing the need of adaptation from one environment. The focus of the organic formation of oil takes together many chemical processes, which can take millions of years of competition. This is why petroleum is a limited source of fuel, or a non-renewable source. In other words, it can't be extracted forever. First of all, the disease risks of fossils had to reach extremely high temperatures that we would not be able to survive. Normally being in the interior of the Earth's crust, or even further, where oxygen would be mostly unreachable. This is when carbon is not the only element present, since the pressure applied would create conditions where sedimentary layers expose primary substance, still not being petroleum, but soon enough to be kerogens, or secondary results before pure hydrocarbons, into organic elements, such as sulfur oxides and several types of metals. Many of us do not recognize the possibilities of petroleum. Petroleum can be considered in many concepts regarding organic, inorganic, and microorganic composers. This microorganic concept is regards to microorganisms, but we shall begin with organic concepts. Since petroleum itself comes from the underground, we are referring to fossil fuels whenever we want to extract this kind of fuels. Whenever we are in need to extract it, there is one process that needs to be done. Fossil fuels have taken over sedimentary layers, in which these sedimentary layers had to provoke very high temperatures. These temperatures are, for us humans, are unreachable for our habitat. Our natural habitat, there it's not possible. But whenever we're referring to organic compounds, bacteria, very advanced bacteria, like we would say, they would also be capable to live in there, and so life would be possible. Bacteria that would overcome extreme conditions in which not every living thing would overcome. Now we're referring to inorganic. Inorganic means metallic compounds, anything that it's not living thing. But we're trying to be more coherent here. Ever since the underground has been existing, universal creation may create various connections to several kinds of compounds that maybe we do not see, but they're also being present. In the underground, there could be many kinds of metals and even sulfur itself. This means that petroleum is not always pure in its own form. This means that it's not only carbon and hydrogen. There can also be a certain very tiny percent of metals, yet a very small quantity of sulfur as well. This regards to inorganic, but since now we're referring to microorganic, we have referred to bacteria, a very advanced bacteria that metabolically they can consume anything that would help them to survive in extreme conditions. This verifies that all these three theories are possible. And regarding a very known astronomer, is called Thomas Gold. This one has told that in the underground many bacteria are living to this day, which makes microorganisms existent within this process.
Petroleum has formed a really important part of social and economic importance. The social benefits include the following: creation of tens and thousands of jobs associated with economic growth, economic expansion for the region, economical growth, skill development, and opportunities to educate the trained and sustainable workforce, increased opportunities for existing local business growth, of opportunity for new business development, fiscal support for public sectors, infrastructure including enhancements, long-term employment opportunities include high-paying jobs in the oil shale and supporting industries. Unfortunately, petroleum is also a cause of pollution for the entire world. The combustion of petroleum causes an increased amount of carbon dioxide emissions as well as the greenhouse effect. The combustion of petroleum for transport, industrial, and domestic use is one of the major forms of air pollution. Some examples of renewable energies are solar. This form of energy relies on the nuclear fusion from the core to the sun. This energy can be collected and converted in a few different ways. Wind energy can be used to pump water and it generates electricity, but requires an extensive coverage and it's sometimes really expensive. Hydroelectric energy. This form uses gravitational potential of elevated water that was lifted from the oceans by the sunlight. It is not strictly speaking renewable since all the reservoirs are eventually filled up and require very expensive excavation to become usable again.